The next recipe I'm doing is a pasta recipe. I'm going to start it and then come back to it because the actual pasta takes about 8 minutes to cook. So in the meantime, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the bread makers. The pasta needs to go into a pan on a hob that is bubbling quite fast and has a tablespoon of oil, which this has, and a teaspoon of salt. That's for flavour. The salt's for flavour. The oil is to help keep the pasta separately. I'm using 4 ounces of low-profile pasta twists. So I'm going to pop that in initially, bring it back up to the boil, because obviously as soon as you put the pasta in, it then goes off the boil. Right, our pasta is ready. I'm going to transfer it from the pan into a container called a colander. And get rid of all the hot water. And I want to drain it as much as I possibly can. Now, unbeknown to you, down here on the floor, I've got a bottle of cold water. There we go, because I haven't got a sink in here. And I want to cool the pasta down. I think we've seen enough of the bread, haven't we? So I'm just going to pour this over the pasta. And try and drain it as thoroughly as you can. You see, it tosses quite easily without it breaking up, so it's just a nice texture. And that's going into a bowl. I'll go back to the bread maker later, because I can now carry on with the pasta. What I have in here is 1.5 ounces of raisins. And don't forget that was 4 ounces of pasta. I've got 6 ounces of celery, which I've sliced up. And I've got 5 ounces of pineapple it's virtually a small can of 4 pineapple slices, which I've cut into small pieces. And that's going in as well. I'm hoping you'll all be able to try this because I made some extra this morning. So there's quite a large bowl for you all to have a dig into. Say again? No, I didn't. No, you don't need to soak them because the moisture from the dressing is sufficient. It's quite all right, is that. In this jar, I've got 1/4 pint of French dressing. And for this one, I've used a Kraft Light dressing. Protein content, again, of 0.1 grams. So no problems, but do check because some of the dressings do have higher protein contents and you shouldn't use them. But this is a French dressing. However, you can, if you wish, make your own. There's no reason why you shouldn't if you want to make your own dressing. I'm going to put into here 2 teaspoons of concentrated mint sauce. Might sound a bit strange, but I can assure you the taste is really nice. And it's the best way of incorporating things into a dressing by putting them in a screw-top jar, but do make sure you screw the top on properly before you shake it. Oh dear, that's my mic. So that is now going to go into the pasta. And using my spoon, just stir it all together. And that's our pasta salad. And here's some that I did earlier, which I'm going to incorporate again If you're doing a large quantity, this is a brilliant way of mixing it all together. Just put it into a really large polythene bag. You can then just toss it together on the counter and then just transfer it into your bowl. So if you're doing a party, this is a great way of doing it. A little bit left over, won't quite all go in. Now, just to finish this salad off, I've cooked some croutons. Do you all know what croutons are? Great. Well, these are just small pieces, small squares of low-profile bread that have been deep fried or shallow fried, whichever you prefer. You can flavour them if you wish by adding some herbs or garlic or some seasonings. And these just give a nice crunchy texture to the salad. I'm going to put a few on top, but I would put a small bowl at the side so that people could help themselves. If you're doing a salad, a pasta salad, just in the same way I was saying earlier, do make sure that you use different textures. It makes them a lot more interesting. So this is why I've got the soft pineapple, the slightly crisp pasta, the very crisp celery, the croutons which are exceptionally crisp and really crunchy, and of course you've got the raisins which will start to plump up and also give you that little bit of colour. So that's our pasta salad, which you'll all be able to try later. Right, a slice of bread. Which is just from the normal slice loaf. Okay? Using your carving knife, I cut it into strips. I'm not going too hard down on it because it'll cut through the work surface. And then just turn it around and you make your squares. Now once you've made all the squares, which are about that size, you can either use in a frying pan sort of about half an inch of cooking oil, olive oil, or whatever you want to use, or even one of the flavoured oils, and literally just fry them until they're nice and golden brown. Or rather when they're starting to brown, because when you start taking them out, because of the size of them, you can't actually take out a lot all at once, and they do continue to cook whilst you're in the process of taking them out. So it's very easy to do. They don't take very long, and they're delicious if you put them onto things like soups. As I say, in this case, I'm putting them on the pasta to add some extra crunchy texture. And they're really very versatile.